Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is the first Minecraft video I've ever made. In today's video I teach you how to make a combination lock redstone door for your survival worlds or your adventure maps. Okay, so this first design uses levers which you have to switch on in the correct combination. There's no certain specific order you can say. However, you have to get the right combination. So let's say I switch these levers. These do not work, okay? But if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, it opens the door. Obviously this door can be a what you call it. This door can also be a sort of a piston door. As you can see here, we have behind here we have a redstone line, 2 redstone lines, and if you wanted to, you could potentially take this line and turn it into a positive, which means that you can hook it up to a potential piston door if there is one here. Okay. So our next design here uses buttons instead of levers. The buttons store information instead of, the buttons. Usually when you use a button, you could say, what happens is the input goes in and then it goes out. But in this case, we save the inputs. So what you can do is you can make a non-traceable thing, right? So let's say we type in our password that we used earlier, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the door's open. Now, with the levers, what would happen is you would type the password, but when you get inside, there's no way to, undo the password. So you're stuck with the door staying open. But here what you can do is you can go inside, do whatever your stuff, and then you can hook your reset button to the inside of your house to close the doors. And when you want to go out, you can just click the button and go out. If you want to reset the code again, so let's say I type in the wrong code, and I know it's wrong, and I'm like, oh no, I don't know my code anymore. I can just hit the reset button, wait for it to stop clicking, and then type in my correct code and have access to my stuff again. Yep. So let's have a look at the wiring. Now this is really big and quite expensive on redstone and repeaters. So if I'm gonna be honest, the major con of this is that it's really big and really size inefficient. Have a look. So the buttons on this one are spaced apart 4 blocks, whereas on our lever design, they're spaced apart by only 1 block. Which, if you're looking for something small that you can just use in a survival base, I would not recommend doing this. I would recommend searching up some other designs from other better YouTubers. Yes, so that's our showcases. I will start the actual explanations now. Okay, so our combination locks that I have just showcased use 2 specific functions to actually work. The first function I want to talk about is called the RS NOR latch. Now the RS NOR latch, in a nutshell, how it works is you have 2, you could say, inputs: the set input and the reset input. Okay, so what the set input does is, you can say this is our output. Oopsies. You could say this is our output, And what happens is we press the set input and our output becomes a 1, okay, which is very clear here, right? Now we can't change the output anymore because it has now been set, okay. And this is what's called a latch, because when you flip a latch, you can't flip it in the same direction multiple times, right? So now that you've set the now that you've had it set, you can reset the output with a different input. So now that we've hit the reset button, it changes the output back to a 0. And again, we can't click this again. If we click this again, it'll do nothing. So basically how this works is, as soon as you change the actual state of the output, you have to go to a different input to change the state. That was a really terrible explanation, but I'll showcase it here. I have built an RS NOR latch. This is the same one that's used here. As you can see, it has this very nice shape. So our set button is used here. We hit the set button and it turns on our RS NOR latch. And then when we want to reset it, we hit this button, which resets it. In the actual demonstration, I can't use Optifine. In the actual demonstration, in the actual in the actual combination lock, what we use is a repeater hooked up to a redstone torch underneath all of them, which makes sure that none of the lamps do anything. So if I want to if I want to make sure it's reset, I hit this button. Let's say it sets. If I want to reset, I can just hit the button and it will turn off. Same logic applies here. So we turn on one of our lamps. So we turn this on, and you can tell that there's an input output here. And then our reset button or our clear button, we press it, and what it does is this is the repeater under the block. We use redstone dust here for simplicity purpose, but it does the same thing. And it resets because you can see this is a 0 now. So that's our RS NOR latch. The final bit of logic, or the final key to this puzzle, is called an AND gate, or it uses AND logic. Okay, so I think it's common knowledge, but Redstone works on a binary system, so you can either have stuff that's off or stuff that's on, so 1 or 0. Okay, so our AND gate, how does it work? Well, you have two inputs. Okay, you can have, if you take input A and input B. Okay, so now if I put our AND gate, if I put an input into input A, nothing happens. But if both input A and input B have a 1 inputted into them, then our output turns on. We can usually output is signified by a Q. So what happens is, with the AND gate, you need all of your inputs, 2 or more of your input, like all of your inputs, to be a 1. Okay. Now how does the AND gate do this, you may ask? Well, first let's break it down. Okay. We'll use this thing here to break it down. How does it work? Let's say you have 3 inputs: A, B, and C. Okay, so first of all, you have to invert the signal. So currently this is on a 0. We can tell that by this redstone lamp above. Now if we flip it to a 1, we can tell that this is a 1. We invert the signal. Okay, next step is to check that all the other signals are off by using a large OR gate. An OR gate basically checks, well, are these if any of the signals are on, then it'll be made obvious. So both of these signals are on, then the OR gate is on. If even one of these signals is on, then the OR gate is on. But if both of these signals are off, then the OR gate stays off. So we have a really big OR gate here. So let me just open all of these. So now that we've inverted the signal and we know that none of them are, like all of them are on, we can invert this to turn it back into a 1 because this is a 0, as you can tell. There's no output from here. Which means that we can convert it to a 1. Now let's look at an application in our actual, you could say in our actual code breaking thing. So I'm gonna demonstrate how we use AND gates in our simulation in our code breaker over there. Okay, so our code for this one will be blue wool. Let me just get some blue wool and break this. Okay. So our code for this one, let's make it this one and this one. Okay, so we have to activate these two to turn on the lamp. Okay, currently our code is set to nothing because we haven't actually made any changes to this, right? And first of all, we haven't inverted any of our outputs, which means that the OR gates will always be off. So our first step is to take the outputs we want to make into our AND gate and invert them. So we do that like this. Our second step, there's no necessary second step. We just have to make sure that the outputs we don't want to be flipped on are connected to a normal thing and are not inverted. That's important. So now what happens is, let's say we type the correct code. So we type 1 and we type 2 here. Our lamp turns on because what happens is these two get inverted here. And since the other one doesn't need to be inverted and it hasn't been turned on, the OR is successfully done and we get an output of 0, which turns on the lamp. However, what happens is if let's say we just reset everything again. Let's say we type this one in and we type this one in. Okay, now what happens is this one gets inverted and it's all good, but this one is on, which means that it contributes to the OR gate. And this one is on, which means it also contributes to the OR gate. If I turn this one off, you can still see. Why is it? Alright, you meant to. I'm so dumb. If we turn that on, both of these are off. Yes, so they aren't contributing to the OR gate, but this one is, which means that we can't turn on. Okay. So we'll have a look at that application in our actual AND gate now. So I'll take the lever example because it's a lot easier to see than this compopulation of Redstone. So our inputs, we have the pattern we were talking about earlier. Should probably make an easier escape path like here. So the ones that we wanted to switch are our redstone torches because they invert the actual signal. So these two and then these bottom two at the right here. And they are connected to our big redstone line. And then the ones we don't want to switch are just connected to a repeater because that outputs a normal redstone signal. So if I hit this one, as you can see, it activates a repeater which activates a normal redstone signal. Now I can turn off this repeater and we'll have and we'll type in our normal code. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What happens is our torches get inverted, all of them, and since none of the repeaters are on, our whole redstone signal is completely off, and I'll destroy that, which allows for these torches to turn on, which opens the doors. And if I turn this off, you can see that because I didn't activate this torch, for example, it turns on the OR gate mechanism, which turns on these, which inverts these torches, which doesn't open the doors. It's quite hard to see here, but it's a very similar process. We just have a much larger OR gate, which is done 1, 2, 3, 4, and then our OR gate down here, which combines. I use this repeater mechanism here, which is just using a full block. And then it goes into our 2 torches, which we used earlier. Of course, our 2 torches, as I mentioned, can be connected to certain mechanisms like piston doors, which can be used to hide secret bases. But otherwise, there's nothing else to explain about this. I think I'll get into the tutorial and the materials. Alright, moving on to our tutorials. Our first tutorial I'll be doing will be for our lever design. If I haven't reminded you, you have to type a correct combination. There can be more levels you switch, obviously. It's quite compact. The materials required for this one are 2 iron doors, 8 levers, 8 repeaters, 32 wool, 10 redstone dust, and 10 redstone torches and 12 redstone dust. Now some of these are variable, such as the redstone repeaters. Based on how many actually levers you flip, you may use more or less, but this is the maximum. If you flip all of your levers, if you flip none of your levers, if that is your code, then you're going to need 8 redstone repeaters. And if you want to flip all of your levers, then you're going to need 10 redstone torches. Otherwise, everything else is pretty much the same. And then you have an optional 2 stacks of blocks in case you want to, for example, build a platform like this. Otherwise, you can just choose a part of your base or a part of like some area. Okay, so we're going to start our tutorial. I'll be doing this in World Edit replay mode, because it's just a lot easier to record like this. So currently I'm building a platform. The actual bottom of the platform doesn't matter, but the wall that you're going to paste all your levers and your doors on has to be at least 5 blocks high. Let's keep that in mind while I build this. Nothing much else going on. Alright. Now you just gotta make sure that your platform is at least 8 blocks wide, I believe, if you want to have padding on each side for the door. Because here I built it 7 blocks wide, but there's not enough space for the levers and the door to fit together, and you'll see why. So I put the doors down. Okay, now it's time. So now I widen it one by one, and I place my levers down. Make sure that there's a 1 gap from the top row of levers and the bottom row of levers, otherwise this won't work. Now that everything and that's on this side is placed, we'll go to the other side. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to first of all find your levers on the other side, just like that, and place redstone torches on the levers that you want to activate. Now you're going to place repeaters on the block, obviously, on the levers you do not want to activate. So it's displayed here. We're using repeaters because redstone dust would usually get interfered, would usually interfere with the actual signals. Normally it wouldn't matter, but I just would not recommend using redstone dust. Now you're going to place a row of 4 blocks in front of your assortment of torches and repeaters, and on each of these blocks you're going to place a redstone dust. Now you have to connect these blocks somehow. I first of all went with a really not very efficient way, and then I made it better. Build it down, make sure you build it down, and place redstone dust on top of these. Now I'm gonna I don't know why I shook my head here. I'm going to now place 2 redstone torches under our iron doors, because this is our opening and closing mechanism for the doors. I'm going to place 4 blocks connecting to here, and connect our staircase to these blocks, like so. Now I'm going to place 2 repeaters going into the torches, and then connect our redstone to these repeaters. So this is our lever design done. As you can see, I will showcase how it works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it opens. Okay, on to the button design. This one's going to be a lot harder. Okay, so this is our second design that we will be teaching how to make. This is obviously the button design I was showing you earlier. It's over there. I don't see it that well. But this is the button design. And I'll show you how it works. Press the right combination of buttons. There's no specific order. And the doors open. Of course, if you want to reset the buttons, you can hit this button here. And if you type the wrong code, let's just say you type in this by accident, then you can hit this reset button to reset correct code. As well as this, you can go inside and close it from the inside. You can open it from the inside as well if you want to leave. All of them. So, what are the required materials? I recommend pausing here. 2.5 stacks of a building block, wool preferably because it's a lot easier to build with. Redstone lamps, 8 redstone lamps. These are optional, of course. You can do it without these, but I would recommend doing it so your user can actually see if they're opening the door. 8 buttons, preferably oak because they have a longer tick time. 2 iron doors. 16 lime wool. I'm using lime wool as a different indicator. This is for our reset function. And I used a piece of lime concrete here, but you can use lime wool as well. A stone button. 1 or 2 stone buttons. This is for our reset call. Doesn't really matter. I like these stone buttons. 36 repeaters. These are important. 36 repeaters, around a stack of both redstone torches and redstone dust, and then your 2 stacks of optional blocks for our actual building. Alright, so now that I've gotten through all of this, I say we get started building. So for the button design, I'm going to start off by building our platform. Make sure it's 12 blocks wide or 12 blocks across. Place your buttons one apart from each other. That's really important, and make sure there's a 4 block gap between the top row and the bottom row of buttons. Now I'm putting redstone lamps above and below the buttons just for ease of use. When someone clicks a button, they can actually see that they've clicked the button. Sometimes it's not necessarily very clear. Now I'm going to put the iron doors down. Yeah, and that's basically the front of our thing. Yeah, okay. So now we come around to the back. Okay, first step, we're going to place redstone torches above all of our top lamps and below all of our bottom lamps. Now we're going to put repeaters in front of these redstone lamps, redstone torches with a block in front of them. You'll see me doing this right now. Redstone torches, break those blocks and put repeaters on them. And make sure to do that for the top row as well. Okay, now we're going to make our RS NOR latches. This is probably the easiest part, or like the longest part of this build. So I'll build my first RS NOR latch here. I don't think it's very clear to see here, but as you can see, I'm gonna make it with this. Put our torches down, put our repeater, put our last redstone piece. Okay, I'm gonna repeat that for all 8 of our things. Now, if you have any redstone torches at the front that are turned on, make sure to go back to the RS NOR latch part of this video and figure out how to reset them. Okay, now we're going to make our actual collection, our system to check the outputs. We're going to put a row of repeaters in front of all of our torches. For the ones that you want to that you want the user to input, put a block in front of the repeater and a torch on that block. Make sure you connect the other repeaters as well, the ones that you don't want to click, with the torches using a row of wool. I think it's pretty clear how we're doing that here. I put a repeater here because I'm worried about signal strength from the repeaters, but just if the signal strength is enough, I'd say don't need a repeater. And then I do the same for this next row here, bottom row. Connect it all with a row of redstone dust. Okay, now I skip this, I skip the OR gate part because I'm going to make the clear function. First, I make a designated block and put a button on top of it. I go underneath the actual system and I place a row of blocks. I'm using my lime wool here, by the way. Place a row of blocks that go and stop around the RS NOR area, okay? At some point, you have to inverse the signal before you reach the RS NOR latches. So I reverse it here. Okay, so first what we do is we place a redstone torch underneath every single one of these blocks that you see, right? Then we place a repeater followed by a redstone dust, followed by a repeater, followed by a redstone dust in each of the gaps in between. So repeater, redstone dust, repeater, redstone dust. It'll be more clear when it comes up to the top row. I just couldn't get a good view from the bottom row, so. Okay, so we have to build it up to the top row as well because this is a reset function for everything. Okay, so as you can see, we place a block underneath there and put our redstone torch. Okay, so we place our row of blocks underneath. And do the same thing, which is repeater, redstone dust, repeater, redstone dust, and it can stop at the very end. I'll show a screenshot right around here. Okay, so now I combine the two levels into an OR gate and use the same setting as our lever thing for our door. Now I'm making a little small sample room. You can see it's not very good or anything, but it's just a small sample room to simulate the inside of your base, you could say. Okay, so you have this, and what can happen here is you can put a small button on the inside of your base. So you can have two buttons inside your base, one to clear the door or reset the door and one to leave your door. So let's say Let's say I got inside, I just wanted to close the door behind me, I could hit that button. What I'm doing here is I'm hooking up that button to our system. It's not very, there's not much going on here. You just have to make sure you have a gap here, gap between your button and the actual redstone line, otherwise it won't work. Here you can see me rewiring the system. I'm going a little bit out of frame, but I end up rewiring the system and we are done. Okay, so now here's the final showcase. I can go inside. If I want to close it, I can close it from the inside. I can do whatever. If I type the wrong code, I can reset it with the outside button. And then retype the correct code. And doors will open. So yeah, that's my tutorial. Thanks. Thank you all for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video because I spent a lot of my time and a lot of effort making it. It took me a good like 10 or so hours to edit over the course of like 2 or 3, not just 2 or 3 days actually. So hopefully you enjoyed the outcome. This is my boss test, which failed miserably by the way. Hopefully you enjoyed what I put out. It took me a long time to finally come up with this design, which doesn't seem that hard to come up with after you get the idea, but, you know, I messed around with a few other T flip-flops, but then I realized an RS NOR latch would be a lot easier to use. And for anyone that's interested, a difference between a T flip-flop and an RS NOR latch is an RS NOR latch uses two outputs, so two inputs, so you know you have input 1 here, and then you have input 2 here. But a T flip-flop is your like average lever, right? So, oopsies, that was not meant to happen. You have your lever, and you know you can flip it once, but there's no other inputs, so the only way to reverse it is to flip it again. And I was originally planning on using something like that, which is seen in this design here, which uses this type of T flip-flop, which kind of goes like, hold on, you click it, and it pulls it back, and then when you click it again, it goes forward and powers the thing, but for multiple reasons this didn't work. Yeah, but I'm pretty happy with how this work turned out. Hopefully you enjoyed my suffering and my pain. Please stay subscribed to the channel if you already aren't subscribed. If you aren't subscribed, because I am reaching 100 stars in Hypixel Bed Wars soon, and I might be releasing a montage. There's not much else to say. Yeah, and thanks to anyone that supports me.